Hi guys, it's Aoife from Fred Weasley Died Laughing and I'm here with my second February weekly wrap up. So I managed to read a good few books and a few novellas this week, so I'm really happy with all my reading and I will tell you what I read now. So the first book I read this week was Onyx by Jennifer L.Armentrout. This is the second book in the Obsidian series, and I read Obsidian a few months ago and I absolutely loved it. I really wasn't expecting to love it as much as I did, and it's basically about a girl called Katie who moves to this small town and she ends up befriending her neighbours, and there's something a little bit supernatural about them, and she ends up kind of getting involved in their lives and all this stuff that is happening, and all this crazy stuff happens, which obviously I won't tell you because it will spoil everything, and obviously I can't say too much about Onyx as well because that will spoil what happened in Obsidian. But it's basically just going on from what happened in the first book with Katie and her Damon, who is the male supernatural creature that's living beside her, and all this chemistry that's happening and all these weird stuff that's happening to them and weird stuff that's happening to Katie. And I did enjoy it, but Katie annoyed me a lot for about a good 60% of the book. She was just really, really irritating. This, oh, Damon doesn't really love me because of this, because of that. His feelings aren't real, when obviously they were real. Like, it was really obvious that they were real. So it was just really, really irritating to hear this constantly repeated over and over again. And I can't understand why Damon just didn't walk away for good, because she was just so annoying about it. And then there was all these new characters coming into it, and Katie kept kind of mentioning how, something didn't feel right. And I hate when that happens, because then we obviously know that this person isn't going to turn out to be who they were. They're probably going to turn out to be a bad person. And I just hate that whole kind of telling you this before it actually happens. It just irritated me a little bit. So overall, I definitely didn't like this book as much as the first. I gave it 3.5 stars, but I am looking forward to the next book. The last few pages, or the last couple of chapters of Onyx was really, really good, or were really, really good. Just all this stuff kind of happened at once and really left me being like, oh my god, I need the next book. So I am looking forward to reading the next book, but for this one it wasn't as good as Obsidian and I gave it 3.5 stars. After Onyx, I picked up The Colour Purple by Alex Walker. This is part of my Pop Sugar Challenge for 2016. It is the National Book Award winner, so I decided to pick this one up from the library, and obviously I hadn't read it before or haven't watched the movie, so I was really looking forward to reading it. This one is a pretty hard book to read at times. It's pretty grim. It's about a coloured girl living in the States. It doesn't really say what time period it is. I don't actually remember if there was ever any year given, so it's kind of actually hard to tell exactly where it is, but it's basically when black people had very, very, very little rights, and it's just all this terrible things happens to her. She is sexually assaulted by her father figure. Her children who she has by him are taken away. She's forced into marriage to this older man and be a mother to his children, and then her sister goes away and she doesn't know where she is, and yeah, so all this stuff starts happening to this girl and she just has the worst life that you could possibly imagine. It's just really, really bad. You kind of wonder how she just keeps going on every single day. But she starts writing these letters to God, and this is what this book is. It's just a series of letters to God, and she's saying what happened to her. She's saying what happened to all these certain events, all these people that come into her life, and it is a pretty interesting book. It has obviously racial issues in it. It has some LGBT themes in it, which are really interesting, which I wasn't expecting at all, but they were in it. I gave it a 4 stars just because I wasn't blown away by it. I feel sometimes with these kind of books which are classics or modern classics, people feel the need to give them 5 out of 5 stars because they have a reputation, because they're supposed to be really, really good and really mind-blowing. And while I did enjoy the book, it's definitely not my favourite book that I've ever read. It does take a while to get used to the format, the way the book is, and again, Celie, who is the main girl, the girl who's writing the letters, the way she speaks as well, because she doesn't speak, she isn't completely educated, she hasn't had a full education, so her speech isn't perfect. She does speak in a certain way that you kind of have to translate for yourself at times to understand what she means. But I did enjoy it. I just can't say too much about it. I'd love to be able to be the person who's able to analyse this really critically, but I'm not. I did enjoy it. It was a good read. I feel like a lot of people should read this book. And that's really all I can say about it. The next book I read was Salt to the Sea by Ruta. Sepetys. This is a book about a group of Eastern European people who are travelling to a port at the end of World War II. Near the end of World War II, they are travelling to try and evacuate East Prussia, which is being invaded by the Russians, and they're trying to escape from the war basically, and they're trying to find somewhere safe to go. This was a really, really good book. This was a 5-star book for me. I read it so quickly. It was so fast paced. There's just so much feeling in it. It's been a while as well since I read a book that had such beautiful characters in it. There are characters in this book that just stayed in my heart and will stay in there for a long time. It's just absolutely phenomenal. I would really, really urge everyone to pick this book up. It parallels to what is happening in the world today with the refugee crisis, so I would definitely tell people to read it because of that as well, kind of give a clear understanding of that this was happening at the end of World War II, and there is a version of this that is still happening today, and I really liked seeing those parallels in the book as well. Intentional or not intentional, I'm not really sure, but you know, they're there. I did do a complete book review on this, my first ever book review that I did on this channel, and hopefully it'll be the start of a lot more book reviews, and I will leave this link somewhere above me or somewhere below me, so if you're interested in reading a full book review on that, spoiler free, please click on it and then let me know what you think. So yeah, 5 out of 5 stars, please read this book, it is amazing. And after Salt to the Sea, I picked up this chunker of the Sword of Shannara trilogy, and I managed to read the first book, which was The Sword of Shannara. This is basically tells the story of Shay and Flick, who go on this adventure with a group of other people led by a druid called Alanon to try and find this sword which can kill this really, really powerful Dark Lord. And Shay is the only person who will be able to touch this sword and kill the Dark Lord, because he is the kind of the last person in a line of elvish kings. He is half man, half elf. So he's the only person that's actually able to pick up this sword, which is why he's needed on this journey. This book has had a lot of bad reviews lately because the Elfstones of Shannara, which is the second book in this series, has become an MTV show, so a lot of people are reading this trilogy again, which is why I'm reading it as well. And people really, really haven't liked it. This has been compared to The Lord of the Rings, and there are a lot of comparisons to it. Like, there were so many points in this book where I was saying, like, Lord of the Rings, Lord of the Rings, Lord of the Rings. And then again, like, the two kind of people who are, like, real mismatched in this adventure are Shay and Flick. Shay and Flick. Sam and Frodo. Like, I don't know why they chose the same kind of names with the letters of the same names. Like, I don't know. But, yeah. But he does completely, like, there's a little bit in the start of this book, at the start of each book in this trilogy, where he kind of talks about where he kind of got the ideas and why he chose, like, what to write, and he does say this was heavily inspired by Lord of the Rings, and what he wanted to do was see if he could do the similar story that's in Lord of the Rings, but put it in a world which was once our world. So this is basically, the Sword of Shannara for me is basically Lord of the Rings stripped down. You have the frame of the Lord of the Rings, and then he put kind of a world that's thousands and thousands and thousands of years, our world, thousands and thousands and thousands of years in the future, on top of this, and that is what we have here. So if you're okay with reading things that are very similar to Lord of the Rings, this is good. It's very description heavy. I felt like it was too description heavy at times. There was a lot of repetition with description. Like, there were so many times I heard about Alanon's dark figure and his dark eyes and his brooding face, and it just got really, really tiring. It's not a book to read if you're tired at all, because you will literally fall asleep while reading it. So overall for The Sword of Shannara, I gave it 2.5 stars because I just was kind of I was really kind of forcing myself to read on. I do think the Elfstones is written a little bit differently. I don't think it's as description heavy from what I've seen when I flicked through the pages, and again, I really like that story from the MTV show, so I'm hoping I'll like that one a little bit better, and I'll read that during the week. At some point I will get to it. So that's as far as I've read so far. So that's the first chunk of the book, that's The Sword of Shannara, and then this next chunk right here is going to be the Elfstones. So I am looking forward to reading it and finally seeing what I think of the actual story, because I do love the TV show. After that chunker, I needed to read just some short things, so I managed to read a few of the Magnus Bane Chronicles. The first one I read was The Rise of the Hotel Dumont, and this one I gave 3 stars to. It was okay, it wasn't great. I find a lot of these ones, they're okay, they're entertaining, but there's nothing really like spectacular about them. They're just some kind of fun stories about Magnus Bane from the Shadowhunter series. If people don't know who Magnus Bane is, he's a warlock in the Shadowhunters. So yeah, I did enjoy it. And then I read Saving Raphael Santiago, and I really loved that one. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. I felt like there was just so much emotion and feeling in that short 40-page book, or novella. It was just really, really good. I really enjoyed it, and I really loved seeing more of Raphael, because I think he was such an interesting character in the Shadowhunter series. I really, really love him, so I was really happy to be able to read more about him and where he started from and his personality, and that was just really, really fun. And then I read The Fall of the Hotel Dumont, which I gave 3 stars as well. It was good. It was the same as The Rise of the Hotel Dumont. It was good. It wasn't great. I enjoyed it just for the time that I was reading it, which wasn't very long. And yeah, so that was it. So that is everything I read this week, which is a lot more than I thought it was. So please let me know what you think below, and let me know what you guys have been reading, and thank you for watching, and I'll see you again next time. Bye!